Hello, everyone, and this is Joseph Anderson with the Joseph Ryder Anderson podcast. And today we're going to be taking a look at two different things. We're going to be taking a look at where we're at the end of the One Punch Man, towards the end of the One Punch Man Union Arena format. And then we're going to be looking at what decks are most competitive, especially based on a recent large Eggman tournament that happened just this week. And then after that, we're going to be looking at my predictions for what the tier list is going to look like after Sword Art Online is broadly available. So if you aren't familiar with Eggman, he is a big name. You probably do know who he is because he's a big name in the Bandai card space, and he hosts these tournaments. And in the Union Arena space, we don't really have a lot of big tournaments yet, so it's really fantastic when he does run these tournaments and we get a better look at sort of how these decks are performing in a broader tournament. Again, these tournaments still aren't huge. It's not like these are like 1,000-player tournaments, so they're not 100% definitive, but it is a very good indicator of what the trends are. And I will say that a lot of these trends are also trends that I have seen from playing Union Arena extensively, as well as monitoring what's going on in tournaments locally around North America. So with all that being said, there are some really interesting takeaways from what decks performed well at the Eggman Sword Art Online Win-A-Box tournament. The number one most interesting thing to me was just how broadly played Yellow Saitama was. So when I first tried out the Yellow One Punch Man Saitama deck, I was pretty blown away by it. I had already felt like it was probably going to be the strongest deck and wrote about that it was going to be the strongest deck in One Punch Man. I also wrote it was probably going to be number 3 best deck overall. However, I would say following this tournament and also following just what I've seen in my own local play, Yellow One Punch Man is arguably the top deck right now. And I'm not necessarily saying that it's overall the best. I just think it's seeing the most play, it's seeing the most consistent, good performance. And I think it also just has so many tools that make it relatively easy to be successful with. It's not quite as hard to pilot as some other decks, and there are some crazy combos. I think the craziest combos are you have the 2-action Saitama that comes in active and can't be removed, and that's just really hard for the meta to deal with. I did write about this, that I thought that this would cause some pretty significant shifts in the meta. One thing that I did highlight was that decks like Green Toshiro could come back because of their ability to freeze opponents' cards without having to actually remove them. And as we have seen in the top 8 from the Eggman tournament, Toshiro did end up making up a significant portion of that. I mean, it was only one deck, but it was not highly represented in the it was not highly represented at all in the pre-top 8 decks. So the fact that it made its way all the way into the top of the tournament shows that whoever chose that was smart to choose that deck, because it does have a favorable matchup against Yellow Saitama, and in a tournament like this that is dominated so much by Yellow Saitama, drastically more Yellow Saitama than anything else. And also just in a general playing field where a lot of people are playing this deck, it's smart to play a deck that can deal with it. A deck like Purple Bleach, you can see from this that there was virtually almost no Purple Bleach to mention, definitely none in the top 8. Purple Bleach has a really poor matchup against Yellow Saitama. I will be honest, I did not realize how bad the matchup was before Yellow Saitama came out. I thought Purple Bleach actually might do okay against it, since it can theoretically remove BP from Saitama, but in reality it's a really bad matchup against Yellow Saitama. I've experienced this myself firsthand, how poor this matchup can be. It doesn't mean you can never win, but it's just Bleach is so big on removal alone and has no really other tools besides removal, so when you're going up against an anti-removal deck, it just doesn't really have the juice to win. So Purple Bleach for the time being has fallen off the meta. We'll talk about post-SAO meta in a little bit, and I think Purple Bleach could certainly come back in that meta. But for the time being, Green Bleach is a better matchup in the current meta when it's so Saitama heavy. The other big change, so I did predict that Toshiro would do well post Saitama. That's one prediction I got right. It is also, I think, good to check yourself on predictions you get wrong. And I did get wrong one prediction, which is that I really did not see Green Saitama doing very, very well. It was clear to me in this last store tournament as of April. I was doing a lot of store tournaments. And it was clear to me from the store tournaments that a lot of people were playing Green Saitama, and also Green Saitama can just be really, really strong if you hit the cards you need. So I don't think that Green Saitama is in contention for top deck. Obviously, looking at the data from this Eggman tournament, it clearly was not a contender for top deck either. But it definitely, as of right now, deserves to be in the conversation for one of the best decks. So top 10. That's about it. I think Code Geass Green overperformed. I think that Code Geass Green tends to do less well in a more aggro heavy format, and as we can see from these decks, none of these are aggro decks, and a lot of them are more control oriented decks. So when you don't have a lot of pressure to apply early against Green Code Geass can really take off and just pummel you. So I think that's part of the reason why we've seen such a strong performance in this tournament for Green Code Geass. As it stands right now, based largely on this data as well as other data shared by University. I watch University a lot on Twitter, so check that. Or not on Twitter, I'm sorry, on YouTube. So if you don't know him, he gathers a lot of different local tournaments and kind of compiles them. So from this tournament data, as well as just my own experience from local play, I would say at the end of the One Punch Man Union Arena format, the decks are something like this in ranking, with number 1 being Yellow One Punch Man, Saitama, number 2 being Purple Code Geass, number 3 being Blue JJK, number 4 Green Lancelot, number 5 Green Bleach, number 6 Yellow Tanjiro, number 7 Green Saitama, and number 8 Red Garu would be my rankings for these decks. And you could probably move Green Saitama up above Yellow Tanjiro and maybe even above Green Bleach. I personally feel like that deck is still a little overrated, but clearly it can do really well in the meta as it is currently. So that's what the tier list looks like right now. I think post SAO, that's going to change a bit. So my predictions for the post SAO format are that I think that Saitama probably will lose a little bit of play. I don't know that Saitama is going to continue to be so dominant as it is right now. I think it is benefiting a bit from being a new deck, so people are really eager to try it out, and it does do really well in sort of this anti-removal format. But I think as people get used to that and start playing decks like Green Bleach that are less dependent on removal, you'll see Yellow Saitama slip down a little bit. Certainly in a lot of the data leading up to this tournament that we've seen, Yellow One Punch Man hasn't crazily performed over the top. It's been there sort of, right below the other top 2 decks, I would say, which is more where I've put it. So my prediction would be Yellow Saitama will lose a little bit of prevalence going into SAO. You'll probably still see Purple Code Geass and Blue JJK up there at number 1. I really can't say which one is better. I think both are really strong. So I would put those both up there as tier 1. And then Yellow Saitama just below it. I think that Green Saitama is going to fall off the radar a bit. I think people are really excited about that deck because it is really cool. If you can pull off that one punch hit and win. But I think that as more decks come out, as usually happens, people are really excited to try out the new decks. And there is a control-focused late game deck, high energy green deck in Sword Art Online called the Sword Art Online Gun Gale Online deck. So it's a GGO deck focused on Kirito and Sinon. And that deck is, in my opinion, better than Saitama. It's less luck-based. I think Saitama, it's really reliant on you hitting a lot of the key cards you need early on. Whereas I think that the GGO deck, the Sword Art Online GGO deck, is a little bit more balanced in its approach to gameplay and has a little bit stronger of a mid-range play. So I would say that my prediction would be Green Saitama will probably slip out of favor, and the new Sword Art Online GGO deck will kind of take its place as one of those more control-heavy decks. You'll probably see a lot of Green GGO. I think it'll probably be even more popular than Green Code Geass, despite the fact that Green Code Geass is still really good. But I think that my perspective of the GGO deck from Sword Art Online is that it's a combination a bit of Lancelot and Kurapika. It has similar strengths of both those decks. I think that it doesn't have anything quite as deadly as the air cavalry, but Kirito comes close. The 7 class Kirito does come close for a little less energy, and you have a lot of snipe, and I think snipe is something we haven't had to deal with a lot in the meta, so snipe could take a lot of people by surprise. That deck is very snipe heavy, and as we've seen from certain tournaments where like Kurapika has come back and done really well, Kurapika definitely will not be part of that top tier deck anymore moving forward in sort of online. But I think that a lot of people will be eager to bring back that sort of snipe play that make Kurapika so strong. And GGO does have more tools besides just the snipe play that make it interesting. It has a lot of BP boosting and things like that. So I think that we'll see a lot of that deck. I talked a lot about GGO. I didn't mean to talk that much about it, but I do think that will probably take Green Saitama's place. I also think that we probably won't see, once things get going, and Saitama drops a little bit in popularity, we probably won't see a ton of Green Bleach because that deck really is largely there just to counter Saitama. I think what we'll see instead is we will see a lot of the Yellow Goddess deck. Yellow Goddess, I think, is even better than Green Bleach against Saitama because it has the Raid Asuna Goddess character. So she basically switches your opponent's characters. So you can use her to switch your an opposing Saitama, for example, with a weak character from the energy line, and then it locks them down so that they can't move. So that's a stronger play than just freezing them. It completely gets him out of the game for a whole turn. There's no way of switching him active. So I think Yellow Goddess is going to be a more preferred deck to counter Saitama, and I think depending on how popular Yellow Goddess is will also impact how dominant Yellow Saitama is, because I don't think that's going to be a very good matchup for Yellow Saitama. Moving on, assuming that this plays out the way I'm saying and Yellow Saitama drops down into more of where it probably should be at 3 in the more middle range, 3 to 5 top decks. Purple Bleach could also come back post SAO. We are getting the next set, which is going to completely change things again. End of May, we're going to be getting that next Bleach set, which will really power up Bleach decks. But until then, I think Purple Bleach does have a chance of coming back into contention for one of the top decks. And of course, we do have Green Code Geass. As it's shown, it's still very relevant. I don't think it's going to be as popular during this next format as the GGO deck, as I've already said, but I think it'll probably be there towards the bottom end of the tier list with probably around similar rank as Purple Bleach. And then Yellow Tanjiro, which did not make much of a showing at the Eggman tournament. I think Yellow Tanjiro is still probably up there as one of the better decks. It's not the best deck, but it is a decent deck. So overall, I've said a lot. Let's just go through that list. In the number 1 spot, either Purple Code Geass or Blue JJK. I always rank these as pretty similar, number 1 spot. In the current format, perhaps Purple Code Geass gets the top. So let's say Purple Code Geass number 1, Blue JJK number 2, Yellow Saitama number 3, Green Gun Gale Online from the Sword Art Online set. That would be number 4. Number 5 would be Yellow Goddess. Number 6 would be Code Geass Green. Number 7 would be Purple Bleach. And number 8 would be Yellow Tanjiro. So those are my predictions for the best decks to look out for post SAO. Of course, this will play out differently probably than my predictions, but we'll see. It'll be interesting. It'll be a very interesting and fun format. Union Arena continues to be just a super exciting game with a very diverse range of decks you can play. And yeah, hopefully that helps you get ready mentally for what you're going to face post SAO. And make sure to subscribe and follow me on Twitter. Join the Discord. Would love to hear your own experience playing these decks. Until next time.